of it. So just the support, the encouragement, the stimulation, the environment, all those elements are something that, you know, I don't think any individual family would be able to provide for.
I used to write things that really did happen to Smokey, but lately I've been writing made-up stories of him and me being in love and doing things together. He kissed me twice at the very first of his concerts I ever went to, and twice more at the sixth one. And Mom and I got my picture taken with him at the concert where he and I first met.
Alexis is a little reserved, but she has one very deep passion in her life, and that passion is Smokey Robinson. And, you know, it's funny because I think for a lot of people, they've really looked at it as kind of an inhibiting factor in life because it's like very obsessive. And it was interesting because Patty saw it as like, okay, that's what she's passionate about it. How do we incorporate that? Because all that she really wanted to do was come in the studio and write about Smokey Robinson. And
on his birthday, I was just standing out in the backyard when suddenly, pow! A snowball hit me in the back, and I turned around, and sure enough, it was him who thrown it. And we started having a snowball fight that lasted for hours, but then we went inside for the party.
Yeah, and you know, talking about Lexi, not only for her, I think for Lexi's parents, it was exciting because it was one of the first times I think someone had recognized that it didn't have to be perceived as a negative. It could be perceived and celebrated as something positive, and suddenly it was being expressed in an artistic way. So I think that it kind of helped them look at it differently also. And so, and Lexi didn't have to feel bad about it. She could come into the studio and she could write anything she wanted and fit it into any place in our art that made sense. And I think what's really interesting about our art is because there's not a lot of ego involved. You know, I mean, most artists work in a very singular way, you know, by themselves in their studios. They don't really collaborate typically all that much. And, you know, someone will do background painting and hand it right off to someone to put their mark on top of it, and it'll be handed off, and somebody else will put their mark on it. And you know, that's really selfless to me because most of us don't work that way. You know, we want ownership of what we do, and sometimes we don't share as easily. And you know, that's another really nice lesson of the studio is just watching people be really open to sharing and collaborating. So
yeah, actually.
Well, PassionWorks is not the first studio in this country that has worked with artists with disabilities, and especially people with developmental disabilities. There's one out in California that's been going a long time, and there's some others that have started in Ohio. But I think what really makes our studio unique, and I don't see other studios doing, is we're a collaborative art studio. And what that in essence means is that we bring people, artists together that have disabilities and those without disabilities, and they collaborate on the artwork. So I have 3 part-time professional artists in the studio working, and their job is really to support the vision of our PassionWork artist. And that typically means, if you look at one of the paintings that comes out of the studio, I would say typically the minimum that's ever participating on a painting, and this would be rare, would be 2. It's more likely 3, 4, sometimes 5 artists have added to that particular painting. The professional artists basically then, they follow the line. Our philosophy is you allow the PassionWork artist to define what the theme is, their lines, and where the professional artists do is help them kind of take that vision and make it a reality. And sometimes they'll use their professional training to help with some of the shading and some techniques on the painting. But
I think of what Lex does is, and if you've seen her down there, you know, she just writes these stories on a big sheet, and then, you know, it gets all cut up and folded and twisted and turned into a flower, so that, you know, the stories that she writes, and this is something that, you know, I've always sort of had a, you know, it just seems remarkable that it just becomes a kind of a graphic thing, you know, or part of the art, that the script is a squiggle rather than really a story, because it all gets cut into pieces and redistributed, and gets incorporated with the whole texture of the works.
Many times people with disabilities, they don't really get to make many choices in their life. Many of the individuals we served came from institutions at one time. Sometimes they're living in residential settings, and many times the most basic decisions have been made for them almost their entire life. I mean, if you think about when you get up in the morning, you probably don't even tally up how many decisions you make before you even get out the door to start your day. But even basic things like, what are you going to wear today? What are you going to eat in the morning? You know, what is the first thing I'm going to do? Many times individuals with disabilities, they don't make any of those choices. And for a long time, that was the case. So for us, it was an opportunity to say, what would you do if you really could make any choice you wanted to? And
most pleasurable part of the job, obviously, would be working with clients, working with people like Harry and Carolyn and Mary Alice. Just to be able to come in and see them and spend time with them every day is probably the best part of being here. So, Alexis, I get to see her on Fridays, and she's just great. She writes these amazing stories about her and Smokey Robinson, and she just loves rock and roll, and probably one of the most enthusiastic people that I've ever met.
So.
And in August 2001, the month that Dad's and my birthday's in, I won the Employee of the Month award at Avalanche Pizza. Oh, that's cool. Wow.
don't let your perceptions be somebody else's limitations. So, you know, I've just learned that you have to be open all the time. And, you know, don't impose your views and your ego into the situation. So that's been good for me.